This morning, chaotic scenes at Perth Children's Hospital after a car crashed through the entrance. A 5-year-old girl injured. More Melbourne suburbs on edge. The Victorian government desperately battling to contain the Holiday Inn outbreak. The environment versus the economy as the WA Liberal Party unveils a shock new generation climate policy. And confronting new vision of the Capitol riots, Democrats attempting to convince the US Senate to convict Donald Trump of insurrection.
This is 7 Morning News, live from Perth with Ryan Daniels.
Good morning. A 5-year-old girl has been badly hurt after a car ploughed through the front of Perth Children's Hospital. Staff rushed to help after a glass panel came crashing down. Rebecca Nichols has the details.
Good morning. This crash has left a child in hospital with serious injuries. Have a look at the extent of the damage now that the sun is up. Security guards are here monitoring the area until that glass pane is fixed because it's become a relatively dangerous situation. The car must have been going at some speed to take out that large window and damage another. It also took out a bench seat in front of the emergency area here at Perth Children's Hospital. Police say a 64-year-old man who had a child inside the car drove through the emergency drop-off area but had a medical episode. The driver lost control and ploughed through the car park entrance onto the forecourt and into those large windows between reception and the emergency area. The crash happened just after 8 p.m. I'm told the man and child received injuries. That child has very serious injuries and is here at Perth Children's Hospital this morning. We will bring you the very latest on that child's condition right throughout the day in our bulletins at 4 and 6 tonight.
Thanks, Rebecca. WA has now recorded 11 days of no local cases of COVID-19. It's another step in the right direction with restrictions in Perth and the Peel region due to end on Sunday. More than 3,700 people were tested yesterday. Things aren't as positive in Melbourne, where the Holiday Inn cluster is growing. The Victorian Health Department this morning announcing another 2 new cases today, bringing the total number to 10. Both are household contacts of staff cases. Meanwhile, New South Wales has recorded another day of 0 new cases. It's the 25th consecutive day without any new cases. However, 3 were reported in returned travellers. It comes as the state prepares for new freedoms. The 1 person per 2 square metre rule will apply from tomorrow. A second man has been charged over the murder of Perth father Din Lam Nguyen, whose body was found stuffed in a wheelie bin that has been dumped in Glenbrook Dam. The 30-year-old Greenmount man was arrested by police almost 2 weeks after homicide detectives charged a 28-year-old man from Mahogany Creek with killing the 51-year-old father. The state opposition has started a battle over power bills, unveiling a surprise net zero by 2030 climate policy. It's an attempt to sway new generation voters, but the Liberal leader is under pressure to explain how he'd pay for the shift to renewable energy instead of coal. Jessica Page reports.
Good morning. Well, Zac Kirkup's not quite turning the Liberal Party green, but his new energy jobs plan has this morning been endorsed by the Conservation Council. It includes a commitment to close all coal power stations by 2025. But the opposition leader denies that means he's given up on the seat of Collie Preston and on the coal town's workers.
This is about making sure there is a targeted investment to help reskill the workforce in Collie. $100 million to help those workers there is a not insignificant investment. We're not going to leave anyone behind. This is about the future of Western Australia and it's about the future of Collie.
His net zero by 2030 target doesn't include public-private partnerships, but would depend on a $3 billion solar and energy farm between Geraldton and Shark Bay. He wants the private sector to pay for. The opposition is offering to underwrite the cost with Synergy's business and denies that would force up power prices. Labor has today promised to cap at the rate of inflation for the next 3 years. It's the environment versus the economy on the campaign trail today, 30 days out from an election that so far has been dominated by the pandemic.
Thank you, Jess. The economy is recovering faster than expected, according to the head of Treasury. But he's conceded jobs will be lost from next month, with government support payments due to end. Political reporter Olivia Leeming has more.
Treasury Secretary Stephen Kennedy says the jobs market is recovering well and consumer confidence is returning. Telling a parliamentary inquiry, employment levels for Australians aged over 35 are back at pre-COVID levels.
The pandemic has been well managed, and that's very clear.
But young people are still struggling. Employment rates for those under 35 still 2 to 3% below what they were before the pandemic. While the tax office has revealed 500,000 businesses are still receiving JobKeeper, supporting some 1.6 million workers. The payment's due to end late next month.
I'd expect it will mean there's some people whose employment won't be present, job losses that would come with that.
But he predicts most Australians on JobKeeper will keep their positions, while job seeker payments for the unemployed are due to revert to $40 a day.
These are matters we're still considering, and when we're in a position to make a statement on those, then we will.
The Prime Minister's under pressure to permanently increase the rate of unemployment payments, with a decision expected in coming weeks.
A leading infectious diseases expert is warning if vaccination rates don't speed up, it will take more than 6 years to achieve global herd immunity. Professor Sanyana Sanan-Ayaki says with vaccine rollouts underway in just 70 countries, it's essential developed nations help third world countries.
Otherwise, if infections occur unchecked in the developing world, we will see new strains emerge that are resistant to the current vaccines.
With an ever-increasing population, the professor says the next pandemic is just around the corner. South Australia's snap border closure to Victoria is being blamed for contributing to a deadly truck crash. Witnesses have reported queues stretched back 10 kilometres in the moments before the fatal collision. One truck slammed into the back of another near the border, causing a chain reaction. One driver has been confirmed dead. Fresh security video of the Capitol riot has played at Donald Trump's impeachment trial today. Democrats opened the debate, outlining their case against the former president.
We have seen critical, at times confronting evidence presented by Democrats today in Donald Trump's impeachment trial, including never-before-seen CCTV, which shows the moment that mobs stormed the Capitol and police rushed to Mike Pence's aid, taking the Vice President into a safe room with his family. The video also showing the heroics of police as they ushered members of the Senate away from the danger. All of this drama playing out over police radio.
Intel one, be advised, you got a group of about 50 charging up the hill on the west front, just north of the stairs. They're approaching the wall now.
They're starting to dismantle our reviewing stands and throwing metal tools at us. We're going to give riot warnings. We're going to try and get compliance, but this is now effectively a riot.
1349 hours declaring it a riot.
Donald Trump is facing a single charge of incitement of insurrection. Democrats today looking out to lay out their case that he wasn't just an innocent bystander, but rather a, quote, inciter-in-chief.
We know from the rioters themselves that if they had found Speaker Pelosi, they would have killed her.
He assembled the mob, he summoned the mob, and he incited the mob.
For the first time in more than 200 years, the seat of our government was ransacked on our watch.
In the coming days, Donald Trump's defence team will have a chance to lay out their case too. Democrats will need 17 Republicans to turn on the former president to secure a conviction. That's looking unlikely at this stage, with Donald Trump still hanging on to the support of the majority of Republicans in the Senate. This trial moving at lightning speed. We could potentially have a vote on whether to convict him as early as this weekend.
Thank you, Ashley. A teenager has run directly into the path of a truck after abandoning a van he'd allegedly stolen. The 16-year-old is now under police custody in hospital.
Good morning. The 16-year-old boy has spent the night here at the Gold Coast University Hospital under police guard. He suffered a broken arm and gash to his head, but really he's very lucky he wasn't more seriously injured. Dash cam vision shows him running directly into the path of a truck that was carrying glass. Now, police allege the teenager stole a van from a home at Robina on Tuesday night. It was the van owner's son who spotted that vehicle, blocked it in with his own car before calling police and his father, but the teenager wasn't sticking around for police to arrive.
And we were just sort of telling him, look, the police are on their way. Just wait, don't do anything stupid.
He's just stupidly run out in front of the truck, not thinking of where he's going.
The van was damaged, but that wasn't the only thing that was stolen. The van owner, Robert Drew, is a double amputee. His prosthetic limbs were inside that van, along with scuba gear that he uses for work. Robert was very grateful to have all of that gear back. The arrest of this teenager comes just days after Queensland Premier Anastasia Palaszczuk announced tough new laws for juvenile offenders.
The Perth house buying frenzy has reached a fresh high. Agents say there's been a spike in locals making offers on properties they haven't inspected due to a shortage of stock. Just like this home in Scarborough in Corbett Street, it was bought by a local woman, sight unseen, for $602,000. Next in 7 News, the moment a pedestrian is thrown through the air, what led to this shocking hit? And royals vaccinated. The Prince of Wales and Camilla received their first COVID jabs.
Seven News is dedicated to Perth, committed to going live when it counts, from when you wake up and throughout the day, live and local news. Then Rick and Sue deliver Perth's #1 news nightly at 6, because nobody knows Perth like 7.
A leaked report has highlighted dysfunction at Bunbury Hospital only months before the death of a new mum. The West Australian reports the confidential document reveals a toxic and destructive work culture was impacting patient care. The report by consultants PricewaterhouseCoopers was handed to the WA Country Health Service in January last year. Only months later, a healthy mum died in childbirth. Another mum had blood thinners given to her at the hospital, causing complications in her pregnancy. And a mum's newborn died after being given a massive dose of morphine at St John of God Bunbury Hospital, which is on the same campus. The WA Country Health Service insists the issues in the report had no bearing on those cases. Crown Resorts is scrambling to rebuild its reputation after a scathing report into its casino management. 2 Crown directors have resigned, while a third has severed ties with James Packer's Consolidated Press Holdings.
Well, the Gaming Authority said that Crown would need to blow itself up to save itself, and it appears that has begun with the resignation of 2 Crown directors yesterday. Both were close allies of James Packer, and a third director cutting ties with Packer's Consolidated Press. Not all hope is lost for the Sydney side. Consultations will get underway between the regulator and Crown later this week, but those resignations alone will not be enough to satisfy the Gaming Authority.
But I'm quite delighted that that's happened. We're starting a dialogue with Helen Coonan, the chair, regarding whether or not Crown can make themselves suitable, and I've got to say it's a good start.
The Bergen report found that Crown had been infiltrated by organised crime and the interstate venues had facilitated money laundering. So there are now calls for those other casinos in Victoria and WA to have their licences suspended. Daniel Andrews did announce in December that he had ordered the Victorian gaming regulator to review the licence in Melbourne. He is still to announce who will be leading that, though. In WA, the state solicitor is also reviewing the report to see how it impacts Crown Perth, but Premier Mark McGowan has said he will not be suspending the licence because there are too many jobs on the line.
Thank you, Amber. Security cameras have captured the heart-stopping moment a car swerves into the driveway of a business, hitting a man on the New South Wales mid-north coast. The Mazda turned to avoid crashing into a reversing ute at Port Macquarie and instead ploughed into the man. He was sent flying, landing on the lawn. It's understood he wasn't seriously hurt, and police are looking at the video. Britain's future king has received his first dose of COVID-19 vaccine. Prince Charles and wife Camilla had the jab overnight. The Prince of Wales tested positive to coronavirus during the first wave of the pandemic in March last year, but suffered only mild symptoms. The Queen and Prince Philip have already had their first dose as the vaccine rollout continues across Britain. Australia's Lord Howe Island was placed on tsunami alert this morning after a powerful 7.6 magnitude earthquake struck the South Pacific. The alert was quickly cancelled, with large waves seen near where the quake hit off New Caledonia. There's a warning for dangerous rips and strong ocean currents along the eastern coastline. Sports next as Nick Kyrgios puts on a show at the Australian Open. The highlights from his round 2 win next. Plus, Tom Brady lets loose as the Buccaneers celebrate their Super Bowl win. And a 9-goal bonanza in the FA Cup. The Australian Open is quickly becoming the Nick Kyrgios show after a 5-set classic against Ugo Humbert last night. The Aussie saved 2 match points and battled on-court technology to reach the 3rd round.
Nick Kyrgios is no stranger to conflict with people. Last night he had technology against him as well.
Obviously something's wrong.
Yeah.
So reset the machine.
The world number 47 took aim at the net detector. Numerous serves for both players called lets. After losing the first set, Kyrgios' racket took the brunt of his anger.
A racket's being crushed.
The net detector again earned his fury in the second.
It's ruining the game. Do you not understand it? Yeah, but you don't understand it.
Questions remained over the technology, but the set soon went his way. The Melbourne crowd fueling the Aussie star. Nick's tricks were struggling to pay off. Down 2-1, he saved a match point before needing his best to stop another.
Oh, yes!
Some couldn't bear to watch as Kyrgios forced a decider. Again, the net detector came into the spotlight.
It's here, bro! It's here!
Nick took matters into his own hands, hitting the device off the net. After 3 hours and 25 minutes, relief and a welcome win for the ages.
If you were in my head, I actually was just thinking about just all the I was going to cop if I lost that match.
The night wasn't as good for Isla Tomljanovic. The Aussie gave up a 5-2 lead in the third to lose to world number 2 Simona Halep. James Manton, 7 News.
Fremantle Dockers forward Matt Taberner has suffered an injury setback just 5 weeks out from the start of the season. Taberner is suffering with a quad issue and trained away from the main group today. The 27-year-old kicked 29 goals in 16 games last season, a career best campaign in which he made the 40-man All-Australian squad. The Wildcats take on South East Melbourne again tonight, the 3rd time the Cats have faced the Phoenix in their first 4 games of the season. Meanwhile, the other Victorian team, Melbourne United, continue to set the standard. United picked up their 6th win in as many games against the Illawarra Hawks in Wollongong. The Hawks pulled out all the tricks to get around the ladder leaders, but United held on to win 91-88.
Got away from Froling and scores. Goodness, huge from Jack White.
The Hawks remain second on the ladder despite back-to-back losses. Celebrations are still ongoing for Tampa Bay after Monday's Super Bowl win, and Tom Brady is starting to get a bit reckless after picking up his 7th ring. That's Brady throwing the Vince Lombardi trophy between the boats on the Hillsborough River in Tampa. When the 43-year-old eventually reached land, he looked a little worse for wear. And it was a goal bonanza in Everton and Tottenham's FA Cup clash this morning. Everton scored 3 goals in 7 minutes just before the break. But Spurs captain Harry Kane's late strike took it to extra time at 4-4. Everton needed something special to book their place in the quarter-finals.
Through to Bernard. He had to wait for it. But now he's lashed it home. What a contact that is. What a cracker from Bernard.
Manchester City surged to a record 15th straight win in English competitions, beating Swansea 3-1. You're watching 7's Morning News live from Perth. I'll have your weather details next.
Notorious. The Troy McCanty interview. Ben Harvey takes you inside the Mongols' Bikie clubhouse for the only ever interview with WA's most infamous outlaw. Gang life, family, and his biggest regret. Troy McCanty breaks his silence only in Saturdays West.
Checking Perth's weather. Right now it's 22 degrees in Perth. Let's take a look around the suburbs. Joondalup headed for a top of 25 today. Scarborough 24 degrees. To the east, Midland expected to hit 26. Kalamunda 25. Armidale mostly sunny across to the coast. And the same for Fremantle. Rockingham and Mandurah both 26. And Rottnest becoming windy 24. And for the remainder of the week, Perth sunny tomorrow, 28 the top, and it's warming up for the weekend, 32 for Saturday, even hotter for Valentine's Day on Sunday, 35 degrees. Similar temperatures next week. And that's 7 News to now. We'll keep you updated throughout the day. I'm Ryan Daniels. Thanks for your company. Have a great day.